Good evening. In a rare event, the Prime Minister will deliver a nationwide address in 1 hour's time as the war in the Middle East threatens our fuel supply. Relief is starting to kick in at the Bowser with the excise slash from today, while the stock market surged, hopeful the end of the war is near.
As darkness fell, the price of fuel finally fell as well. With excise halved overnight, these prices down. Diesel still high, but back under $3 a litre.
I know people are doing it tough, which is why we've acted to make a real difference.
But it's false hope for some as they wait for new fuel deliveries, allowing prices to change everywhere.
Yeah, I did notice, that's why I pulled in quickly, because it's just like, it's too much.
And the verdict from the vehicles tied the Prime Minister to petrol.
This is fantastic. Hey, good on you, Anthony. You're a good man.
Do you think the authorities are doing enough?
No, I don't think so. Don't believe Albanese.
There will be sort of vagaries, people saying, well, your board price hasn't changed. And I'll say, well, I haven't run out of that fuel yet, you know.
What we need from the government is absolute clarity about the plan from here.
Tonight, the new plan for small business.
To try and shield them from the worst the world can throw at us.
There'll be relaxed tax checks and enforcements, plus easier and faster credit for small business, more specialist banking teams to help sectors like farming impacted by the fuel price hike.
Australia's banks recognise the responsibility and unique responsibility they have to step up in times of crisis.
And tonight, the Prime Minister will give a televised national address on the fuel crisis.
The following is an address to the nation.
A rare tool only available to the Prime Minister.
As a nation, we now have to do some tough and challenging things together.
Recent addresses include Scott Morrison during COVID and Kevin Rudd during the global financial crisis.
Those tough times have now arrived.
Dating back to radio and Robert Menzies.
Fellow Australians, it is my melancholy duty to inform you Australia is also at war.
Tonight, thankfully, it's not our troops, but our tanks on the line as this national struggle gets a national approach. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
We'll hear from the Prime Minister in under an hour. Let's go live to our political editor, Charles Croucher. Charles, good evening. What can we expect?
Good evening, Pete. Well, the expectation is for Anthony Albanese to effectively say, here is the scenario, here is the plan, here's what the government will do, and here's what Australians can do. Perhaps the most crucial point, though, will be, here's what is not going to happen. There is no appetite in this building, across state premiers or in any home in Sydney to see COVID-like restrictions come in. There will be basic suggestions for what can be done. Most of it will be common sense for saving fuel. But we're not going back to homeschooling or travel limitations. Having that certainty should allow everyone to go enjoy a long weekend with family and friends and not worry about the latest rumour that an uncle has heard or a group WhatsApp or something from social media about lockdowns. Tomorrow, people hear from Donald Trump, and that could be anything from American boots on the ground to war is over. So watch this space.
All right, Charles, thank you. And of course, 9 will have special coverage of the Prime Minister's address live for you at 7 p.m. tonight, straight after the news. Please join a Current Affairs Ali Langdon and our political editor Charles Croucher directly after this bulletin. In Sydney, it was a tale of two Bowsers today. Fuel prices dropping at some service stations, others still at the highs.
Rozelle, petrol at $2.21. Happy days. The fuel excise cut of 26 cents wasn't supposed to kick in for another week.
How long's this been going? This is better than sliced bread. Hey, this is fantastic. Hey, good on you, Anthony. You're a good man.
But it was a lottery across the road, unleaded at $2.44. Down at Manly, it was $2.64. At Woolloomooloo, they hit the jackpot at $2.29.
It all helps. Anything we can get. It's really tough out there at the moment. So this is a bonus.
But diesel is still high. 1 BP at Manly had it at $3.30. That's $1.50 more than what it was just before the war. Over the week prices should drop at more stations.
The ACCC need to monitor these service stations to make sure that they pass on the cuts in full.
But with Easter approaching, holiday makers have been spooked by prices and availability, putting the brakes on a road trip.
Something like 41% of Australians have either cancelled or altered their travel plans because they're concerned about cost of living and particularly fuel.
It's shaping up as a staycation, leaving the regions to carry the loss in trade.
You shouldn't cancel your plans on the Easter long weekend.
Ford is tackling the fuel crisis by offering $4,000 fuel cards for buyers of some new cars. While sales of petrol cars are flat, Auctionside Pickles says demand for used electric cars is up by 100%. 60 councils across New South Wales are so concerned about fuel availability, they want the government to guarantee supplies for garbage trucks. They also want any fuel price increases to be subsidised by the waste levy they pay the government. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
Go get your own oil. Donald Trump has lashed Britain and France, telling them to free the Strait of Hormuz themselves. Relations are souring between the US and UK, with the King and Queen about to head stateside to try to ease the tension.
With 1 hour's notice, a building in southern Lebanon is wiped off the block by Israeli forces, while the US military strikes hundreds of targets in Iran in one night.
It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them.
The regime is still making threats. Iranian state media says 18 American companies in the Middle East are now considered targets, including Apple, Tesla and Boeing.
What did they threaten them with? PB guns? Or they don't have much left to threaten.
Donald Trump says the US will be wrapping up operations soon.
Within 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Also lashing out online, telling the UK to free the Strait of Hormuz themselves. Go get your own oil. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us.
If France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the strait and the Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. We have nothing to do with that.
France isn't allowing Israeli forces to fly over its airspace, and Italy is no longer sharing the skies over Sicily with America.
It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well.
But Buckingham Palace is being used to preserve a relationship with the president, announcing the King and Queen will go ahead with a state visit to the United States next month. These royal visits are conducted on behalf of the British government. The timing of this announcement is likely no coincidence, as the transatlantic relationship hits one of its lowest points in years. The palace didn't put a date on the visit, but Donald Trump did, April 27th to the 30th. He says it will be terrific. In London, Josh Bavis, 9 News.
In a matter of hours, humanity will strive to make history once again. NASA set for blast-off with the Artemis 2 mission to send man back to the moon for the first time in more than 50 years. Our correspondent Lauren Tomasi is on Florida's Space Coast ahead of the launch.
There it is, over the water, launch pad 39B, and the rocket set to take man back to the moon. Tonight, the Artemis 2 mission is in the final crucial stages of preparation. The first launch window will open tomorrow evening here in Florida. NASA says it's not tracking any significant issues here, but scientists are watching the weather, namely this breeze and any potential cloud that could come up. But tonight, there is an 80% chance of go for launch. In 50 years, so much has changed. All 4 astronauts on board this mission will be carrying smartphones. They'll of course be focused on the task at hand, but there'll be space selfies. And for people watching around the world, they can track the rocket in real time. Tonight, we're on the cusp of a new era of space history, to the moon and beyond.
Thank you, Lauren. 200 to 300 witnesses could be called in the double murder trial of former police officer Beau Lamar Condon. The 30-year-old appeared in the Supreme Court today via video link from jail. He's accused of using his police-issued firearm to kill Jesse Baird and Luke Davies in Paddington in February 2024. The case will be back in court next month. He bashed gay teenagers, shared terror content and possessed guns when he was just 14 years old. Disturbing details have emerged in Parramatta Children's Court about a Sydney teen who prosecutors say was fixated on martyrdom.
Escorted by his mother to court, the youngest member of a violent gang, inspired by Islamic State.
How did you get caught up in all this?
In 2024, he was just 14 years old, among a group who used social media to lure gay and bisexual teenagers to parks in Strathfield, Campbelltown and Hurlston Park, violently bashing them, yelling slogans including ISIS warrior, come and fight.
Are you a supporter of Islamic State?
Arrested in raids following the alleged terror-inspired stabbing of a bishop at Wakeley. Police finding on his phone videos of Islamic State executions, jihadi fighters and propaganda about suicide operations and encouraging martyrdom. He even sent one of the clips to his mum.
What did you think when your son sent you that video?
The Commonwealth prosecutor arguing there appears to be a fixation on martyrdom driven by a particular ideology. He is a strong supporter of Islamic State. But his lawyer argued that while his client was homophobic, it wasn't proven that the assaults were motivated by a radical ideology, saying he was plainly of a lower IQ. He was plainly also vulnerable to the influence of others.
At the time, the teenager's parents were separating and he dropped out of school. That's when he started associating with older boys at a prayer hall in Bankstown. His lawyer says he was seeking belonging.
Now 16 years old and waiting to learn his sentence. Annalise Bolt, 9 News.
After being shot at least 20 times by specialist officers, police killer Desi Freeman has been formally identified. Tonight we are learning more about his final standoff as investigators work backwards, hunting those who helped him.
As detectives scour the site where Australia's most wanted man was shot dead, confirmation came that man has been formally identified as Desi Freeman.
I'm going to leave comments on that matter and that evil individual to Victoria Police.
He was shot at least 20 times by officers from the Special Operations Group who lay in wait under the cover of dense bush. Police say the end came after hours of attempted negotiations, when Freeman emerged with a gun stolen from 2 of the officers he murdered in Porpunka.
He fired 2 shots and 8 police responded. In all probability, the gun was shot out of his hand because it was some distance away.
An internal police probe is still investigating the final standoff, as is the coroner, while detectives continue to hunt for anyone who was aiding Freeman over 7 months. Investigators had been tracking a vehicle going back and forth from Porpunka to a remote property at Tologalong. These fans on top of the shipping container could be another vital lead.
Somebody has purchased those and taken them to the property to ensure that Freeman is able to live in there in the heat. Rest assured the police will be trying to find out who bought them and where.
Police had been trying to intercept and track any of Freeman's phone use throughout the manhunt. The investigation now turns to analysing any electronic devices found at the bush hideout.
This brings to an end a really dark time for Victoria Police, the families and the communities around the northeast, but the pain and trauma will never end.
In Porpunka, Penelope Learsh, 9 News.
ABC staff will vote on an improved pay offer put forward by the public broadcaster after last week's strike action. Regular ABC programs went off the air for 24 hours last Wednesday, with thousands of workers protesting a 10% wage increase over 3 years. The union today applauded the latest offer, a 10.5% rise, backdated to October last year, with ABC workers to vote on the deal later this week. Our housing market is in for its biggest hit since 2022. Values starting to drop under the weight of interest rate rises and inflation. The price check coming as the government forges ahead with a new megacity in the heart of Western Sydney.
A suburb born in 2000 from the Sydney Games, Olympic Park is now going for gold to solve the city's housing crisis.
15,000 homes on the site over the coming years. That will mean home to around 33,000 residents.
The revised 2050 master plan adding 2,000 more homes than originally proposed. all connected to public transport spread across 5 diverse neighbourhoods.
This is a 25-year program of development. Look, it could come on more quickly. It just depends on the rate of development.
And there's evidence supply in the market will ease prices. New figures from Catality show home values in Sydney decreased by 0.3% in March, down 0.6% for the year.
At the moment, it's largely coming down to supply. So if we take a look at the Sydney market right now, the total number of properties listed for sale sits about 7% above the 5-year average.
Interest rate rises, reduced borrowing power and inflation will hurt the market even more.
Prices have already dropped in these marketplaces somewhere between 5 to 10%. It wouldn't surprise me if there's more rate rises that we actually see prices even drop further.
Like any crisis in the market, it also comes with plenty of opportunities, particularly for buyers to get a house at a discounted rate or even upgrade to a more desirable suburb.
And as they say, never waste a crisis. So for some buyers, it could be opportunistic.
For everyone else, the pain is set to continue. James Wilson, 9 News.
There's been a breakthrough over a brazen daylight shooting at Gregory Hills. A man repeatedly fired upon outside a shopping centre gym in December. 3 men have now been charged over the ambush, hauled in by police after raids at Parramatta, Silverwater and Burwood. Tiger Woods has broken his silence after being charged over a car crash in Florida, revealing he's stepping away to work on his health. Police allege powerful pain medication was found in the 50-year-old's pocket, a jury likely to decide his fate.
He rolled his Land Rover and landed in custody. Now out on bail, golfing legend Tiger Woods says he's taking accountability, breaking his silence after his driving under the influence charge. I know and understand the seriousness of the situation I find myself in today. I am stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on my health. Florida police say the 50-year-old appeared slow and lethargic when he was arrested after crawling from the passenger side of the vehicle. A breath test came back negative, but Woods refused further testing. Court documents allege 2 loose hydrocodone pills used for severe pain were found in his pocket. It's the same drug found in the golfer's system when he was arrested on DUI charges in 2017.
Have you had anything to drink tonight?
I'm not.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Have you taken any medication?
Yes.
Do you remember being asleep in the car?
The 15-time major champion's using the same lawyer from that run-in, but this time Woods entered a not guilty plea, instead pushing for a jury trial. The golfer's statement comes a week after his TGL comeback and just over a week out from the Masters, almost certainly ruling him out of the tournament. I'm committed to taking the time needed to return in a healthier, stronger and more focused place, both personally and professionally, he wrote. In the United States, Reid Butler, 9 News.
A US journalist has been kidnapped in Iraq. This terrifying footage showing her being bundled into the back of a sedan in Baghdad. News outlet Al Monitor has identified the victim as 49-year-old Shelley Kittleson, a contributor to the publication who has been covering events in the Middle East. It's called for her safe and immediate release. The US Defence Secretary has rolled back a punishment handed down to military helicopter crews who flew close to the home of MAGA-supporting musician Kid Rock. Initially, the Army announced the crews would step down while their actions were investigated. But Pete Hegseth stepped in, saying there will be no punishment or investigation. The US President is backing his big, beautiful ballroom after a federal judge ordered construction on the $578 million project be stopped until it gets approval from Congress.
Every president, literally for 150 years, has needed a space like this. When we have a president of a big country or somebody being honored of great distinction, and they sit in a tent, and if it rains, you get soaked. King Charles was a great guy. We don't want him to sit in a pool of water.
Donald Trump says the renovation is being privately funded and therefore doesn't need congressional approval.